There has very much been a cultural revolution within the video game industry between the players and the publishers and the media, and a lot of it has been platformed off of Steam. Not actively, so to say, more passively than anything else, because it's one of the only places, it's one of the only platforms where the customer still has a voice and that voice can be heard. We just don't see that in a lot of other places. And I don't think a lot of people have picked up on this, but not only has Steam been getting more popular, they've been on a warpath. They've been setting up rules and regulations for all of these other publishers to follow, and if they don't fall in line, well, then they're not going to be on Steam, and these guys want to be on Steam. And I realize that a lot of people are going to push back and say that's a lot of power for one company to have, and you're absolutely right in that. But from my perspective, they've also become our de facto legislators in an industry that is wildly underregulated. They are putting consumer protections in place in an industry where those consumer protections don't exist. And why are they doing it? Well, it's because they value their audience. We've had plenty of conversations about an industry at war with its own audience. Well, this is the last bastion of that industry where they still care about us. So from hitting 40 million concurrent players on Steam and exposing Activision Blizzard to beating Amazon and not even knowing it, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the continued success of Steam and how they're drawing battle lines nobody wants to cross. If Steam was ever going to have a competitor, it would have been Amazon, because they have the money, the infrastructure, the Twitch integrations they could do to be able to create something massive, but instead they threw billions at a problem and made nothing. A former Amazon executive admitted as much in a recent article from Windows Central written by Michael Hoagland titled "Amazon Admits Defeat to Steam as Former VP Declares, We were 250 times bigger, but Goliath lost. Just because you're big enough to build something doesn't mean people will use it." Michael writes, in a LinkedIn post, Ethan Evans recalls his loss to Steam when he led the division. "We were at least 250 times bigger, and we tried everything, but ultimately Goliath lost." That's an interesting choice of words when you compare market share. While it's true Amazon by itself is a company that vastly outsizes Steam, no other company has ever held a portion of the PC market like Steam has. To me, they've always been Goliath. It's just been other Goliaths coming to battle them with similar tools and identical features, but a simple change of attire. Ethan admits to misunderstanding what it took to take on the giant. At Amazon, we assumed that size and visibility would be enough to attract customers, but we underestimated the power of existing user habits. We never validated our core assumptions before investing heavily in solutions. The truth is, gamers already had a solution to their problems, and they weren't going to switch to another platform just because a new one was available. When a person is happy, they don't go look elsewhere because something else is available. When a player has a large library of games, achievements, friends, and hours spent on a product platform, what's the reason for them to shift? Beep boop, does not compute. We fail to understand user habits. These suits are complete bots failing to understand anything about the industry, the games, or the players. Just one time I want to hear these guys say something that genuinely reflects the perspective of the players. Just one time I want them to put themselves in the players' shoes. They were so close saying gamers already have a solution. The issue is these suits don't understand the problem being solved is them. Amazon thought that they could brute force their way into the PC gaming space, but they never understood why people use Steam in the first place. Steam's not just a storefront, it's a platform that's built on trust. Valve isn't some faceless mega corporation chasing quarterly earnings reports. It's a company ran by people who actually understand games. When they make changes, it's almost always in the favor of the developer or the player. They give developers real tools. They don't try to nickel and dime their players. They treat the ecosystem like a living thing, not a cash register. Meanwhile, Amazon thought that they could just throw some money at Twitch streamers, slap together a launcher, and all of a sudden compete with Steam, but they were wrong. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted to use Amazon's half-assed gaming service. Even with all of their unlimited money, they still couldn't buy relevance. And that's why Steam is untouchable. It's not about the games, it's about how the platform treats you. And unlike every other company within this industry, Valve doesn't treat its customers like walking ATMs. Amazon failed, Epic failed, Ubisoft failed. Every single competitor who has tried to take on Steam has failed, and it's because Valve actually respects their customers. Imagine that, a company that doesn't hate us. You know, I'll be honest with you guys, if it wasn't for me actually reading these headlines, I wouldn't even have known that Amazon even had a storefront. That's how little people were talking about it. That's how little people were interested in anything other than Steam. And Steam's success isn't going to be stopping anytime soon because it's part of a much bigger shift in this industry. PC gaming is growing faster than ever, and the data proves it. As reported by IGN in an article titled "Steam Tops 40 Million Concurrent Players for the First Time as We All Jump In to Play Monster Hunter Wilds," Vicky Blake reports Steam, the most popular digital game distributor for PC players, has once again broke its own concurrent user record, breaching 40 million concurrent players for the first time. Over the weekend, which just so happened to coincide with Monster Hunter Wilds launch on Friday, February 28th, Steam logged 40,270,997 simultaneous players, breaking its previous record of 39.9 million players set in February 2025. In fact, according to SteamDB, Steam's concurrent record, seen by some as a way of measuring the success of Valve's digital platform, has been broken almost every single month since May 2024, with the concurrent peak rising from 35.5 million players to 40.2 million in just 6 months. So now let's put all this into perspective. Steam isn't just growing, it's growing faster than ever. While gaming platforms are struggling with engagement loss, live service failures, and subscription fatigue, well, Steam is doing the exact opposite. Every single month, their records keep breaking. Every year, their foothold in the industry gets stronger. And that's because PC gaming isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Consoles used to be the convenient option. Plug it in, press start, and play. But that illusion has started to crack. Next-gen console hardware launched with big promises, but what did the players actually get? 30 FPS modes, aggressive upscaling, missing features, and all the while, these platforms have done little to improve the customer experience. I mean, we have people that are buying the hardware outright, subscribing to play online using the internet they already own, and they're being filtered into a limited ecosystem of games where their reviews mean nothing. They're being bombarded with ads on their dashboard, and they're locked out of basic features. What exactly are these people playing for? Of course they're going to start going to PC. And then we have streaming culture, because more players aren't just playing games anymore. They're creating content. They're streaming on Twitch, editing clips for YouTube, and engaging with gaming in ways that, well, consoles just simply weren't built for. The Steam Deck has made a huge difference as well. This is one of the smartest things that Valve has ever done, because it's not just a handheld PC, it's a bridge. It pulled in console players who had never touched Steam before, and once they saw what was possible, no paid subscriptions for online, full access to an entire library of games, the ability to tweak and mod things whenever you want to, why would you go back? More games, fewer restrictions. Steam doesn't have the same walled garden nonsense that PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox do. Early access thrives here. Indie games have a real shot at success. Modding is alive and well, and Valve isn't strong-arming developers into exclusivity deals and trying to push a storefront that nobody wants. But arguably the biggest catalyst for Steam's recent success is actually the launch of Steam China back in 2021. While initially the adoption rate was pretty slow, we've seen with the launch of Black Myth Wukong and more recently Monster Hunter Wilds just how much of an impact that can have. I myself am welcoming my Chinese brethren into the fold because these guys do not put up with poor optimization. Did you guys know that most of the negative reviews on Monster Hunter Wilds were written in simplified Chinese? Steam now has access to one of the biggest consumer markets in the entire world with a population of 1.4 billion people. That's going to have an effect. The numbers don't lie. PC gaming isn't just growing, it's pulling in players away from consoles, and Steam is leading the charge. Not because they're trying to force anybody's hand, but because at the end of the day, they don't need to. When given a choice, players choose Steam, and that says everything. And Steam's only going to get bigger, especially because of Steam China, because we've already seen that month after month, we're going to see more and more of these Chinese games release, and we saw the effect of Black Myth Wukong and how many players that brought into the ecosystem. And with some of these Chinese games that are going to be coming out, they're going to get national support, and that's going to act like a bullhorn that's going to bring in more Western players that are going to be attracted to that game and how popular it is. That's how this thing continues to work. And other than GOG, see, I mentioned GOG, praise me in the comments. I don't see any reason for me to use any other platform that's out there because none of them are as consumer friendly and as convenient as Steam is. Sure, I realize that that's monopolistic, but I really like it when a monopoly works for me. And that's exactly what Steam does. Steam works for me. At a glance, I can see everything that I want to about a game. I can see how many people are playing it. I can see what people are saying about it. I can see screenshots or the trailers or people streaming it. They have streams right on Steam. I can see what content's included in the version I want to buy. Maybe it's included in a bundle or maybe it's on sale. It'll put up in big, bold, yellow text whether or not it has any type of third-party software like DRM or whatever else it might be. If I don't like it, within 2 hours, I can return it, no questions asked, and you just do not have those things on any other platform. Not a single one of them. It makes no sense to me how any of these companies would try to compete with Steam if they will not compete on their terms. If you are not trying to iterate on the things that make Steam successful, the reason why people go to Steam in the first place, then why are you even trying? All you're doing is wasting time and money because every single month that you're not doing what they do, well, players are buying more games on Steam, they're becoming more invested on that platform, and it's getting even more popular. and you won't stand a chance. But I think that's the critical issue. It's not that they don't understand why Steam works or why Steam is popular. It's that they hate that it does, because they hate how user-friendly it is. They hate how much control and how much transparency it has. They hate how much control the players have, how much choice the players have. And they really don't like the fact that they have to operate on Steam's terms instead of their own. Steam isn't just a storefront, it's an industry watchdog, and that becomes more obvious every year. Activision Blizzard recently tried to sneak in AI-generated art into Call of Duty without telling anyone, letting players assume that they were paying for real handcrafted content until Steam's latest policy forced them to come clean. As of 2025, Steam requires full transparency. If a game contains AI-generated content, it has to be disclosed up front. AI itself isn't necessarily the issue. I don't think that players are necessarily against it, but I think that players are against paying more for less. AI should, in theory, lower costs and improve efficiency, yet somehow publishers are using it to cut corners while still charging premium prices. That's what players hate. Not that AI exists, but that it's being used to shortcut and pump out lazy, overpriced content. And if Steam hadn't stepped in, publishers would have kept pretending like it wasn't happening at all. And this isn't the first time that Valve has forced publishers to play fair. In 2024, EA openly discussed adding in-game advertisements, one of the most profitable ways to be able to nickel and dime your customers at the expense of their experience, but Steam shut it down immediately. They banned forced advertisements in games just like that. While other companies may see gaming as another passive entertainment platform to monetize like streaming services, Valve made it clear players should not have to sit through a commercial break to play a game that they paid for. No wonder Sony's been so hesitant to move to Steam. I'm sure they'd love to cash in on that ad patent they've been sitting on. But if that wasn't enough, and this is something we've talked about in a previous video, Valve also cracked down on one of the biggest publisher scams, selling season passes and DLC with no intention on delivering the content on time. For years, developers have been getting away with promising post-launch expansions, collecting money up front, and either delaying their content indefinitely or just canceling it altogether. But Steam changed the rules. Now, if a developer misses their content or their DLC deadline and they don't notify Steam of the delay, Steam will automatically refund players. No waiting, no arguing, just instant refunds. Name another platform that does that. You can't. But what really pisses off these publishers about Steam isn't their policies, it's their transparency. Valve actually gives the players the information they need before making a purchase. And that's a serious threat to an industry that's built on hype, artificial scarcity, and manufactured popularity. Taking current player data, for example, Steam lets players see exactly how many people are playing a game in real time, a feature that Ubisoft reportedly wanted to see them remove, but it's obvious why they would want to have it gone. Publishers do not want you to see the actual numbers. They want you listening to journalists to tell you that the game is popular. But on Steam, you don't have to take anyone's word for it. You can go see the numbers yourself. You can go see if a live service game is thriving or barely hanging on. You can decide if it's worth investing your money into, or if it's already a ghost town that won't last another 6 months. And that's a problem because this directly conflicts with their financial goals. These companies have no problem making players spend money before they eventually pull the plug, and they have no issue gaslighting players into believing a game is alive and well when it's not. You know what else directly impacts their sales, or at least should? Reviews. And nothing forces publishers to be more honest than Steam's review system. This isn't just a feature, it's one of the most powerful forces in gaming. A single bad decision can sink your game overnight. When Sony tried to force in PlayStation logins into Helldivers 2, Steam players review bombed the game so hard that Sony backtracked in record time. This wouldn't have happened on any other platform, but on Steam, negative reviews can actually affect sales, which means developers can't ignore them. And it's not just PC players that are checking out these Steam reviews. Console players are relying on them too, because let's be honest, gaming journalism is dead. IGN, Kotaku, GameSpot, these outlets have turned into nothing more than corporate mouthpieces, handing out 9 out of 10 scores to garbage, half-baked games, dismissing real player concerns and treating criticism like it's toxic. Nobody trusts them anymore. Players aren't going to waste their time and money based on some paid-for Metacritic score. Instead, they're going to go check out Steam because that's the place where real, unfiltered player opinions actually matter. Steam lets players organize and warn each other. Unlike other platforms that try to suppress discussions that might hurt their sales, Steam allows open, unmoderated discussions. Take Sweet Baby Detected as an example, a group that tracks a specific game consultancy agency that was involved with writing different games. Whether you agree with them or not, players deserve the right to know who is shaping their games and if they want to buy something that they are involved in. The gaming press wanted Steam to shut it down. Developers tried to call for its removal, but Valve, they didn't cave. They didn't censor it. They left it up. here's the truth. Steam doesn't just compete with these other storefronts. It is regulating the entire industry. Anytime Steam makes a change or bans something entirely, these publishers and developers have to fall in line. Otherwise, they're not going to have their games on the biggest platform in the world. And with how hard it's been for some of these companies to actually profit off of some of their games, they cannot afford to not be on Steam. That's why Steam is such a threat to modern gaming. It exists in direct opposition to everything that these big publishers have been wanting. It's too user-friendly. It gives players too much control. It's too transparent, and it forces them to play fair. And that's why these companies keep trying so hard to replace it. Epic burned billions trying to make a competitor. Amazon failed before they even got started. Ubisoft, EA, and a bunch of other publishers have abandoned their own PC launchers because nobody wanted them. Every attempt to take Steam down has failed. And why is that? Well, that's because when given a choice, players are always going to choose freedom over control. And that's why they're choosing Steam. Valve isn't just another faceless corporation. It still operates like a game developer. It's not run by marketing executives or analysts that don't play games. It's run by people who actually understand video games. They make video games. That's why Steam has a clear identity and one that prioritizes the players over the publishers. And that's why every single competitor is going to fail. Amazon, Epic, Xbox, EA, Ubisoft, every single one of these PC platforms was built by people who only put profits first and players second. They don't understand their audience because they aren't their audience. But Steam is different. It was built for the players, and because of that, Valve is the only company that is actually regulating the industry. I, for one, am completely happy that we have Steam on our side, and they are the ones that are laying out the rules right now. Because if they weren't doing it, then nobody would. Because, well, you know, in a lot of cases, there's nobody that's actually trying to fight on our side legislatively. It's governments and whatnot. Half these people are too old to really understand video games to begin with, and they don't really care about it. And even if they did, well, they just probably have some people that would lobby against it, and then they'd make it worse. So, yeah. But there isn't a single company within this industry that could compete with Steam. And I say that with the utmost confidence because you have a company that, one, isn't publicly traded. So they're not being influenced by investors or trying to make money for other people. They're just trying to make money for themselves. And on top of that, these guys make more money per employee than Apple and Google. They're making more than enough money that they don't even care. And the only way for them to make more money, at least from their perspective, is just to invite more players in and then protect that audience, protect those customers, because that's the way that they stay. If you use them and abuse them, well, they're going to go leave. They're going to go somewhere else or something like that. That's not what you want. No. That's the reason why when we look at Steam for the most part has been on autopilot. They don't need to change anything. They don't need to do anything to it. You don't need to add anything other than video games, more games for me to play and buy. That's the reason why these guys are going back to making video games right now. That's the reason why they're going and making a Steam Deck, because they're making ways to invite more players into the ecosystem rather than milk the players that are already there. That's how their vision is completely opposite for the rest of the entire industry, because these guys are so focused on trying to squeeze every drop out of whoever they have, they end up scaring everybody else away, including the people they're squeezing. That doesn't work out in the long run. Now, while Valve has definitely betrayed us in the past, I'm not going to pretend like they're a perfect company. They are the ones that popularized loot boxes in a lot of ways. From my perspective, they're one of the very few that are still on our side and are still working for our best interests. They're still working for us. And that's the most important thing. Well, I think a lot of people believe that Steam's going to change one day, and fair enough. All companies change, things change. It's how the world works more than anything else. You know, this company is so small. They make so much money. Only have 300 employees. They have such a focused philosophy on video games and players and customers and their platform. I don't see that going anywhere. When you have a company that small with that strong a leadership, that doesn't just disappear overnight. That doesn't disappear when Gabe Newell leaves the company. Yes, I know we have a 62-year-old man that basically has the health and fairness of the entire video game industry weighing on his shoulders, but he doesn't really take me as the kind of guy that would just walk off and leave somebody else to burn it down. You're likely going to pick somebody that's going to be a solid successor. So yeah. Man, these publishers have to hate Steam. They are stomping all over every single dirty little nasty trick they want to pull. And they're not going to get away with any of it. Not unless they want to make money. If you want to make money, you better be on Steam. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitch. Like the video. Comment on the video. Follow me on Twitter. that is all I have for you today. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Family, 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 family.